break down the duel for the swing states is Matt Klink, a Republican strategist, and Donte Mills, a Democratic strategist. Thank you both so much for being here. This is going to be fun. Okay, so first, polling. It shows Vice President Harris leading Trump in at least 4 of these crucial swing states, narrowing the gap in others, though. I mean, by all intents and purposes, no matter what poll you look at, it's important to remember this is still very much a neck-and-neck race. And Donte, I'm going to start with you. Again, I do not like when people report on this story as monolithic. I'll say it over and over again, but the Black community, particularly in Georgia, do you think that there will be questions around Vice President Kamala Harris, the candidate for the Democratic Party, and whether she can relate?
Absolutely, there will be questions, and there should be. No one should win the presidency because of the color of their skin, no matter what it is. And Vice President Harris is really pushing this campaign out as a campaign of joy. She wants to be in a positive space, bring America together. That's really what they're planning. That gets people attention, and she's still kind of in that honeymoon phase where people are excited. It's a fresh face, a fresh voice, but she's going to have to follow that up with what her policy is, and the economic policy is going to rule the day. She does have an opportunity in Georgia to win. She has Senator Warnock down there, who's won 2 elections. He's very popular. He's going to be campaigning for her. You saw him speaking at the Democratic convention. She has enough of people's attention that if she follows this up with good policy, economic policy, then she can win the state of Georgia. She could win the state of Pennsylvania, Wisconsin. She has a path to become the next president of the United States.
And right now, former President Trump has the endorsement of the governor, Brian Kemp, which, Matt, I think is actually really big news, considering all of the smack talk both of them have served on social media. But obviously, President Trump is leading Ms. Harris on the economy. So leaning in on that more, I mean, shouldn't the former president actually take that and use it as leverage in some of these swing states where he's already shown to have the upper hand?
Adrienne, you hit the nail right on the head, and that's what Donald Trump needs to do. It seems like Donald Trump has been obsessed recently with reminding people why they don't like him when he talks about crowd size and the 2020 election being stolen. However, when he does pivot and when he does talk about the economy and the 19% inflation under 3.5 years of the Biden-Harris regime and, $125 for a bag of grocery that used to cost $100 when Donald Trump was in office, he's going to win on that every time. That coupled with the Harris tax plan, which is a $5 trillion tax plan, including a tax on unrealized capital gains, which for anyone that has a 401k, you're going to get hit by that. As soon as she starts moving beyond the quote unquote, the joy and freedom, which, by the way, for the Harris campaign means the freedom that government gives you, sure numbers are going to drop. This race is essentially tied right now in the 7 states that matter, and Donald Trump is significantly ahead of where he was in 2016 versus Hillary Clinton and in 2020 versus Joe Biden. So coming off a tough month or a great month for Kamala Harris, I'm glad Donald Trump is where he is. That as your other guest said, Dominic said, Donald Trump has a pathway to election as well.
Yeah, Donte. And the fact is, Donte was saying something about joy, joy, joy down in my heart. But I don't know that that pays the bills. How is she going to come to the debate stage with this joy message? I mean, school us on what you think she should be schooling former President Trump on. What is her strength?
Well, her strength now, I believe, is the fact that she is a fresh face. And it's a little bizarre because as the vice president of the United States,
is she a fresh face? Being the vice president over the past 3 years?
She's going to pitch this as moving forward with a new platform. And she made it seem as if, and they're doing a phenomenal job at making it seem as if this is still Donald Trump's America that we're living in, and she's the one that's going to bring us out of it. And she's walking that fine line of saying, I want to take, the accolades for things that I think are good about this presidency, but I want to distance myself enough so people believe they're getting something new. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the economy. All of this is even Donald Trump talking stuff and everything, all of his comments. It turns people off. But at the end of the day, if they believe he will bring more money into their pocket, they're going to vote for him whether they tell you that or not.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.